Good morning and good afternoon and good evening, everyone. My name is Saskia Ozendarp and I'm the Executive Director of the Micronutrient Forum, and I welcome you all. We have over 650 people that registered from over 80 countries to this webinar that's co-hosted by the Scaling Up Nutrition Movement, SUN, and the Micronutrient Forum. And today we're going to talk about nutrition for resilience, launching a new era for national progress. Before we start, I have a few housekeeping points. We have muted and switched off all the participants' videos and microphones during the webinar, and we would like to know who you are. So please ensure that you're logged in with your full name and with your affiliation so they are visible to others. You could also rename yourself by clicking on the three dots at the top right corner of your window. If you want to introduce yourself or write any general comments, please use the chat function. But if you want to ask questions to the speakers, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. We will record this webinar and it will be shared online in due course through the MNF YouTube channel and other social media channels. And a summary of the recording and of the webinar will be made available in French translation after the webinar for French-speaking participants. So, as you know, we are concerned about nutrition for resilience because we are facing in the past few years a cascading hunger and malnutrition crisis that is adversely impacting vulnerable communities worldwide. Climate change, high food prices, conflicts, and the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic are interacting with nutrition security in unprecedented ways. And this really requires a shift in our thinking. Building nutrition resilience, that is the ability of nations and of systems to protect nutrition in the face of all these challenges, has never been more important. And to do so, we need to learn, we need to share, and we need to build on an evidence base that is emerging now from experts, but more importantly from countries who were able to safeguard diets and nutrition outcomes during previous crises, including the COVID-19 pandemic. And that is the objective of today's webinar, where we will hear from some country focal points and national, regional, and global experts. And that is also the objective of the upcoming Nutrition for Resilience conference in The Hague, which will take place online and in person from the 16th to the 20th of October 2023, with an expected total of 3,000 online and in-person participants from the nutrition, the food, the agriculture, climate change, development, and humanitarian context and sectors. And this conference, the Micronutrient Forum Global Conference, provides a unique opportunity to disseminate evidence and to advance program and policy discussions on sustainable solutions and systems approaches that can nourish and safeguard the health and the productivity and the futures of vulnerable communities worldwide. Before we start with discussing these issues with two panels with high-level speakers, I would like to first introduce to you Dr. Afshan Khan, who is the new SUN coordinator, and before this worked in various functions in UNICEF. And she will frame the challenges that we face and the urgency for elevating political commitments on nutrition. So Dr. Khan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Saskia, and I'm very grateful for the honor to be able to help frame the Global Nutrition Challenge and to be able to set the tone for the discussions on nutrition resilience. Given the key positions that our distinguished panelists occupy and the widespread knowledge amongst those attending, I believe that we have a great deal of expertise amongst us. What I want to do, therefore, is put down the markers of what nutrition resilience in practice should be, how it relates to various parts of the nutrition agenda, and how the SUN movement already plays a positive role in bringing about nutrition resilience. I did want to start, though, with a general observation, and that is that the tendency to focus on problems and challenges, like those that hamper communities achieving nutrition resilience, rather than on solutions, many of which you are already carrying out or know about in the audience, this approach misrepresents reality. It makes problems and challenges look bigger and more difficult to overcome than they actually are. Conversely, it makes even tried and true solutions appear less capable than they've proven to be. This misperception is dangerous because it bogs us down a lot of our time and energies in laments and complaints, leaving much less for addressing the challenges together. This does not mean that we should not acknowledge that we are in a polycrisis situation with climate change, major conflicts, the residual impact of COVID, and unprecedented pressure on development and humanitarian budgets, as well as global economic problems, especially rising food prices, negatively impacting nutrition-related goals, especially in developing countries. The data from the latest State of Food and Nutrition in the World report are clear. 3.1 billion people worldwide, or 42% of the population, could not afford a healthy diet in 2021. More than 1 in 5 children, or more than 148 million children, were stunted in 2022. But then we need to turn to the solutions that can and have worked and galvanize the political will to make those solutions reality. In my view, solutions existing in future all need to be based on the premise that malnutrition in all its forms is a root cause of a great majority of our challenges, globally, nationally, within all levels of society. We all know that a proper nutrition is responsible for development damage in children and health problems in adults. We know that in addition to the human cost, malnutrition is therefore also the cause of reduced productivity and greatly increased health costs. Competition over arable and grazable land and access to water is also the source of conflict in many regions. Once we begin to see malnutrition in all its forms as a root cause, the solutions to the problems and challenges associated with it also come into better focus, from nutrition financing to nutrition resilience. It's important for every policy and budgetary decision at every level to have a nutrition component. This is how we focus our attention and energies on the solutions instead of the problems. In our current context, on strategies that help to deliver nutrition resilience in societies, even when beset by multiple challenges. Nutrition resilience, as you said, Saskia, at a systems level refers to the capacity to withstand and respond effectively to shocks, stresses, and disruptions while maintaining optimal nutrition outcomes for individuals and populations, including for vulnerable and marginalized groups. As we know, this goes beyond having enough food. It goes to quality, diversity, and affordability. And it involves having robust systems and strategies to, at minimum, protect and, wherever possible, to enhance nutrition well-being, particularly for the most vulnerable, even in times of crisis. At the systems level, nutrition resilience entails diverse and nutritional food production, including food fortification, sustainable food systems, such as diversified agriculture and local agriculture products to reduce dependence on distribution networks and practices that might create additional problems, health systems with integrated essential nutrition services, including prenatal vitamins, vitamin A supplementation, promotion of exclusive breastfeeding, complementary foods after weaning, and lipid-based nutritional supplements, as well as the treatment of acute malnutrition. This has to be part of a minimum package of services available at the community level. Access to clean water, hygiene and sanitation, also critical, and access to social protection and safety net mechanisms like cash transfers, food vouchers, and targeted nutrition programs. Nutrition education and social behavior change communication are also important elements. And policy and governance frameworks, as well as programs that support these interventions, are pivotal. And we'll hear later today, I think, from some of the Sun networks working in these areas. By enhancing nutritional resilience at the systems level, it becomes possible to cope with and mitigate the negative impacts of human-made or natural crisis and challenge. It becomes possible to consider achieving the SDGs and the WHO targets, and it becomes possible to increase public health and thus productivity, and make sure that every child has the opportunity to reach the full potential. Those of you working within the Sun movement or familiar with its work know that the Sun movement is contributing to nutrition resilience in a number of ways. System strengthening lies at the heart of the Sun movement. Sun promotes a multi-sectoral approach to nutrition, including food and livelihood diversification, targeted nutrition-sensitive safety nets, investment in natural resource management, and sustainable productivity, as well as water and sanitation and improved access to financing for nutrition outcomes. 58 countries have or are developing their national multi-sector nutritional plans, while Sun is supporting the institution of country efforts through the establishment of multi-stakeholder platforms at the national and local levels. Sun helps with embedding nutrition in food systems, health, social protection, and climate actions. In a number of countries, the Sun focal points are also the food system national conveners and operate at the level of planning, finance, or office of the Prime Minister or President. With this strategic political placement, these focal points ensure that the integration of nutrition is throughout the food systems, and food systems that also focus on the nutritional needs of the population, looking at drought-resistant crops, traditional foods that can support healthy diets, affordability, accessibility, are all building blocks for nutrition resilience. Some countries are also scaling up nutrition-sensitive social protection programs that provide safety net transfers to households adversely affected by the multiple crises facing the country, with explicit objectives to improve nutrition through micronutrient and targeted supplement targeting nutritionally vulnerable populations. In several countries, there's a clear focus on primary healthcare and the integration of essential nutrition actions into health systems. There are several countries where we're seeing the integration of nutrition and climate action, and with an increasing number of countries susceptible to natural disasters, better understanding the intersection between climate and nutrition to strengthen nutrition resilience is key. Strengthen data, evidence, and information systems, enable integrated early warning system for food security and nutrition to safeguard nutritional achievements during crisis. I'm sure Dr. Aptek will speak about the newly launched Philippines Plan of Action for Nutrition, which also has a focus on building nutrition resilience. Sun also helps focus on financing essential nutrition actions, using a combination of improving the use of existing funding, increasing domestic resource mobilization for nutrition, and making a case for greater external funding, including innovative financing. What I'd like you all to take away from this is while we need to focus on the many strategies and solutions already available to help ensure nutrition resilience. Crises will happen, but if we have systems in place, we can ensure nutrition security. As you all know, we're not fully there yet. We need more action on financing solutions to improve nutrition resilience of individuals and populations through system strengthening, food systems for people and the planet that not only produce and deliver healthy, nutritious diets, but that are accessible and affordable to all and also sustainable in terms of their impact on the environment. Bridging the humanitarian development divide is another key area. Traditionally, there's been a delineation between humanitarian response program and development assistance programming. Nutrition resilience at the system level addresses both systemic issues and the short and medium requirements. And lastly, Saskia, something that is near and dear to your heart, strengthening data, evidence, and information systems. It's essential to determine the indicators and metrics to measure and track nutritional status, especially during crisis, and engaging youth as agents of change. My last visit to Tanzania, I really saw how youth are effective agents of change and often drive innovation and technological solutions that are part of nutrition resilience. I am confident that if the upcoming discussion takes place in this positive context, it'll make a substantial contribution to our mutual goal of enhancing nutrition security and building stronger, more resilient nutrition systems. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Khan, for setting the scene and for reminding us that it is important to focus on the positive side and on the solutions, and also, and I've of course liked your call to focus on basis of evidence and data. I think your message that it is important to strengthen systems and to enable systems to withstand these interruptions to ensure a continued delivery of nutrition and nutrition interventions throughout food, agriculture, education, and health systems and social protection systems. I think that is was a very critical part of your talk, and I would like to ask a question on this, because over the past years we have seen indeed that national governments were able to adapt their systems that delivered nutrition and health to vulnerable communities in the face of these sudden shocks and unprecedented crises. And that really reinforced the importance of multi-sector and multi-system nutrition strategies. But it particularly also reinforced the need for those systems to be aligned and to be agile and adaptive to ensure continued delivery. So in your view, what adaptations proved essential to ensure this continued delivery of nutrition services in those countries?
So I think we have a number of countries that took actions in order to buttress social protection, for example, as a result of the recent crisis. If I look at Ghana, for example, they have really focused on favoring social economic development, making substantial efforts towards improving human development indicators, especially in health and education, and they made significant investments in social protection. There's been a number of activities, projects, and programs related to social protection, such as the National Health Insurance Scheme, the Livelihood and Empowerment Against Poverty Program, the School Feeding Program, and the Free Maternal Health Care Program. So social protection measures taken by the government of Ghana, even to respond to the effects of COVID-19, included launching a cash transfer fund with the support of WFP, allocating a $100 million package to the health sector to expand capacity and provide public awareness campaigns, because we knew that health services had been so dramatically disrupted, and free water and a 50% reduction on electricity bills were provided for 6 months and 9 months respectively. Now, what we also know is the ability of governments to expand those social protection programs are severely now hampered by some of their debt repayments. And all of us have seen the recent cutbacks in health and education services in some of the countries that were considered well on the way to improving SDG indicators. But I think when we have strong political traction behind protecting nutrition resilience and investments, you do get the kind of incentives that we so strongly need to build nutrition resilience. Paul and I were just in Tanzania at the Food Systems Summit. The call to action by the vice president and the call to action by the president all spoke about the importance of, while we build food systems, ensuring that nutrition and a strong nutritional resilience of the population are equally important. And the links to human capital development and Tanzania's vision of where they want to go as a country has really made them focus on programs like Nourishing Life that focus on social behavior change communication, how those can be integrated into national social safety nets to enhance infant and young child feeding practices and access to nutritious foods. So this integrated approach with strong political will in social protection, I think, is one of the areas that will be pivotal. And for fragile countries, yesterday I launched with the Prime Minister of Somalia, the Food and Nutrition Council. I think they're addressing some of the systemic issues on bringing humanitarian and development actors together under an effective nutrition governance structure that aims at addressing malnutrition in the long term is key.
Yes, well, thank you very much. Unfortunately, there is very little time now to go into the next question. I would also like to remind the audience that if you do have questions, please use the Q&A chat function, because at the end of this webinar, after the two panels, we will have some time to address some of the questions of the audience, and also including questions that are addressed to Dr. Khan from the Sun Movement. But I really would like to move to our panels now and hear actually from the experts in the countries about this issue. And our first panel is a dialogue with national government leaders. And I'm very pleased to introduce to you our first two panelists. And that's Dr. Apet, who is the Assistant Secretary and Executive Director of the National Nutrition Council of the Philippines and the Executive Committee member of the Sun Movement for Southeast Asia, Philippines. And our second panelist is Dr. Ella Compaore, who is the Technical Secretary for Mother and Child Food and Nutrition at the Ministry of Health and Public Hygiene and the Sun Focal Point in Burkina Faso. So welcome, Dr. Apet and Dr. Compaore. My first question is actually to Dr. Apet. We've heard about the importance of political will from the previous presentation by Dr. Khan, and I would like to know from you, how did your government in the Philippines and other national stakeholders respond to these rising nutrition challenges, and how did they manage to safeguard nutrition over the past few years, and what were the challenges? Dr. Apet.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saskia. Okay, so actually the Philippines is facing persistent challenges related to malnutrition, prevalent among nutritionally at-risk population groups, including pregnant and lactating women, as well as children under 5 years old. Now, these challenges are exacerbated by the current crisis, resulting in rising consumer food prices and at the same time income losses, making the marginalized population more vulnerable. Actually, in 2021, 3 out of 10 Filipino households experienced moderate to severe food insecurity, and malnutrition, especially among under 5-year-old children, continues to be a significant problem. 1 in 4 or 3 million under 5 Filipino children are already stunted. So compounding these challenges is the Philippines' susceptibility to natural disasters such as typhoons and earthquakes due to its geographical location, which lies along the typhoon belt of the Western Pacific, and unique tectonic setting ideal for volcanic and earthquake activities. Now, these vulnerabilities impact food supply chain, the delivery of essential services, and the loss of livelihood, among others. As a response, just like what Apshan mentioned, the Philippine Plan of Action for Nutrition was developed, and it continues to serve as the country's guiding framework to safeguard nutrition in these crises. Now, amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, the local government units continued to deliver essential nutrition services, and the National Nutrition Council, my agency, and its partners continued to promote good health and nutrition practices through nutrition education and social behavior change campaigns utilizing the Quad media. Now, to halt further rise in malnutrition prevalence and improve resilience, my agency, the National Nutrition Council, launched our dietary supplementation program, or what we call the Tutokainan, in 2020, which provides hot meals and dry commodities to pregnant women and complementary food for 6 to 23 months old children. Now, the program employs a multi-sectoral approach and engages local farmers organizations to provide locally available agricultural commodities, enabling local food production and supporting farmers' livelihoods. Now, this program also encourages healthy dietary patterns through the healthy plate, what we call the Pinggang Pinoy concept, to achieve positive nutrition outcomes among its beneficiaries. Now, another action that contributed to building nutrition resilience is empowering our local communities to take ownership of nutrition programs and tailoring interventions to their specific needs as well as cultural contexts. The National Nutrition Council and its partners are continually shepherding and providing technical assistance in mobilizing local government units and in crafting their local nutrition action plans with nutrition components integrated to secure funding for implementation of the nutrition programs. Now, the Nutrition Champion Program, roundtable discussions, and one-on-one meetings with local chief executives actually reinforce their commitment for nutrition to allocate sufficient funding and personnel for nutrition in the respective communities. These initiatives have led to increased funding for nutrition at the subnational levels as well. Now, recognizing the value of collaboration, the Philippines localized the Scaling Up Nutrition movement and established the regional SUN networks. The initiative promoted multi-sectoral collaboration in addressing the malnutrition problem at the subnational level, tapping the expertise and efforts of the different stakeholders from the academe, research, private sector, donors, United Nations, and civil society. Now, the NNC also recognizes all local government units that demonstrated outstanding performance for nutrition to inspire them to sustain their commitment for nutrition and as well recognize their significant contributions in improving the country's nutrition situation. In conclusion, I firmly believe that empowering local communities and leaders will continue to be the driving force behind building nutrition resilience at the grassroots level. Looking ahead, the Philippines has launched the Philippine Plan of Action for Nutrition 2023 to 2028. This is a significant step forward in addressing the interconnected challenges of malnutrition and climate change. With an integrated food security component, this plan emphasizes strengthening nutrition-sensitive interventions that enable the creation of sustainable food systems, further reinforcing the commitment to overcoming malnutrition in the Philippines. Thank you very much. Back to you, Sash.
Thank you very much, Dr. Apet. And that was quite impressive how the Philippines has managed at different levels to safeguard nutrition over the past few years. Were there any lessons that you learned of responses that did not work? Because I do think that sometimes we can learn as much from responses that worked as from responses that didn't work. So did you see anything that did not work?
Yeah, actually, all our interventions, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, worked well, especially among our local government units, because this is the major reason why our stunting prevalence rate has not gone high as compared to other countries because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But nevertheless, we would like to exercise more caution in really advocating to our local chief executives that good nutrition is really good governance. Therefore, we are advocating to our local chief executives to invest more, invest in nutrition. So nutrition for the money and money for nutrition. Back to you, Saskia.
Thank you very much. My next question is for Dr. Ella Compaore from Burkina Faso. Dr. Compaore, we've heard about the importance of policy and political will. So what national policy opportunities and entry points exist to integrate these actions that build nutrition resilience? And what, in your view, has been able to support and drive this national policy advocacy on nutrition resilience? Over to you, Dr. Campore.
Thank you very much. For me, regarding our experience, because we are living in a crisis context, we have many entry points. We have many entry points regarding the support provided by partners. We have the will of the government. We have also the financing. You know that the government is really engaged to move forward with nutrition. So we have the domestic budget that is providing to manage malnutrition, to implement some actions in the ground. So we have many actions we are implementing with the national budget, and every year we notice that the budget is increasing, and it's very important for us to increase the national budget to nutrition. We do not know to rely only to partners, but we want also to use our domestic budget so that it can convince the partners that are working with us that the nutrition is really important for us, and the country is really engaged to reach some important, some significant results. And the Sun movement is also one of the entry point for the country, because they really reach some partners for us. They really follow the progress for the country. And at the country level, we monitor, we track at any time what we are doing, what the support we have from the partners. So it's really important for us. And what was really important and what helped us also to move is the networks, the different networks we have in the country. We know that we have joined the Sun movement many years ago, and it was requested from them to us to have many platforms and networks to help us to move for the resource mobilization, for the advocacy, for social behavior change. So many networks were developed, and every network is working to mobilize resources, to mobilize partners, and also we have many very good practice we can share at the country level. So it's really determinant for us to move in nutrition, because the context is really moving in the country, is something that is very dynamic. Because it's really dynamic, we really need to have many partners, to have many possibilities, to have many entry points we can consider to move with our nutrition action. And I know the last one we have really used as a very important entry point for nutrition for us is is an online platform we have developed, and we have used many sectors. The one we've called sensitive and the other one we call specific. We have worked together to mobilize the community level, to mobilize the regional and the national level, all stakeholders to raise the awareness about malnutrition, so that it was really important to minimize the safety issues we face in some region, and that it limits the malnutrition management and the access to health system.
Well, thank you. That's very, very impressive to hear that you have been able to maintain or even increase your national budgets. I think many countries, in the context of all these crises, I think you're to be applauded for that. And I think many countries would like to learn exactly how you did that. And also you referred to the importance of having these access to networks, both at country level and at regional and global level, and to integrate them. One question that remains for you is that how do you think the research community can better support your efforts?
I was speaking about the nutrition platform we have in Burkina Faso, and to build this platform, we have used the academia sector. They really helped us to build this platform to raise a very good the awareness the people have on nutrition, because we are trying to solve some systematic question there. We are trying to determine what are the how we can explain the high prevalence of malnutrition in some regions, how we can try to know why we put a lot of money in nutrition, but we don't have a significant change for indicators, for example, and research was there to help us to try to find the determinant of this situation. And the research sector is really instrumental for us there to provide some local evidence regarding what we know at the international or regional level. But we were looking for national or local evidence, and the research was very determinant for us to know this evidence.
Yeah, I can imagine. I have one final question actually to both panelists of this first panel. And that is, you have an opportunity now to talk also to global leaders today. And what policy actions would you really recommend for global leaders that can build the nutrition resilience of vulnerable communities, and particularly, of course, those in crisis-prone contexts and at high risk of malnutrition? So maybe first to go back to Dr. Apet, if you would like to let us know what you think the policy actions would be.
Yeah. Okay. So global leaders have actually a pivotal role to play in creating a conducive environment for building nutrition resilience. Now, drawing from the Philippine experience, there are policies and interventions in place that contribute to nutrition improvement and resilience. Now, for instance, the new Philippine Plan of Action for Nutrition 2023 to 2028 integrated and highlighted the food security component into its framework. Now, and emphasized the importance of nutrition-sensitive interventions to facilitate the creation of sustainable, resilient food systems. A separate framework for nutrition in emergencies was also developed by the Philippine National Nutrition Cluster to guide the national and subnational levels in undertaking key actions during the prevention and mitigation, preparedness, response, recovery, and rehabilitation phases of emergencies or disasters. Now, however, a significant challenge arises in ensuring that these initiatives are translated into tangible actions. The critical factor here lies in the awareness, support, and unwavering commitment of national leaders and local chief executives to prioritize nutrition as a priority development agenda. Given the recurring 3 to 6 year transitions in leadership positions in the Philippines, securing their continuous support remains pivotal for achieving improved nutrition outcomes. Consequently, the formulation of policies and advocacy efforts must be done to enable the requisite action, ensuring consistent funding for nutrition and sustaining cost-effective nutrition interventions. Actually, local evidences and quality data are essential also for identifying gaps and cost effectiveness, measuring progress, adapting policies to evolving needs. Thus, establishment and implementation of a priority nutrition research agenda and policies that promote collection of high quality data are very important. Further, integrated information systems and cross-sectoral mapping are also crucial to allow seamless data quality transfer. Now, further integrated information systems as well as cross-sectoral mapping are also crucial to allow seamless data sharing and prevent duplication of resources for nutrition. Now, lastly, nutrition resilience cannot be achieved alone. Now, collaborative efforts across sectors and active stakeholder engagement are imperative to address underlying determinants of malnutrition. There have been challenges, specifically on engaging the business sector. Thus, we recommend to the global leaders in crafting a comprehensive policy for private sector engagement. Actually, the role of the private sector in this endeavor is indispensable, as the role, particularly in the food industry, greatly contributes to shaping the nutritional landscape of the country. Back to you, Saskia.
Yeah, very, very clear. I would also like to hear from Dr. Ella, if you can, in a very, very brief answer to what would be your call to national leaders on recommended policy actions.
I have some reflections. as a recommendation. The first one for me is the conflict resolution and peace building. If you know, many countries are experiencing conflict or security issues. So it can disrupt food production and distribution. It can disrupt access to health system, market, education, etc. So for me, the first recommendation is to build peace, to make very effort to build peace and to resolve the conflict at every level, national, regional, and global level. It's really important for long-term sustainable nutrition resilience. The second one, I was mentioning it when I was speaking. It is the capacity to strengthen multi-sectoral approach. As you know, the government should work with partners, UN, NGOs, etc., and everyone has a key role to play. So we need the government should be the lead. It should align the partners. But you know, the role of the partner is to provide a kind of technical, financial, and some expertise, right, to support and to build a nutrition program. And the next one for me again is the establishment and promoting of social safety nets, and so that you can support really the vulnerable groups. And the next one for me again is nutrition financing. You need the domestic budget to be put to nutrition. We need to use really this resource and to reach the target so that we can be sure that the vulnerable groups can have what they expect to have and what is very determinant for them in terms of nutrition. And the next for me again is the development of a very good and strong information system. We need to develop a very good information system so that we can stay very informed. You can have the good decision. We can take the good one, the best one, if I can say this, so that we can have the action implemented in the ground at a real time. And for me, also the community empowerment is something that is really important. You need a local community to take the ownership of their food, of their nutrition, etc. if you want to improve the nutrition resilience. They can support a community-led initiative, something like gardens, saving groups, nice food production, economic stability, etc., etc. And at the regional level, if I just want to share a few minutes the experience we have at the regional level here. You know that Burkina Faso is part of ECOWAS region, and at the ECOWAS level, we have developed a regional observatory in nutrition where we monitor and track nutrition indicators, where we have developed it in a regional alliance for food fortification, because we really need to fight to have a very good fight against macronutrient deficiencies. We are trying also at the regional level to harmonize the curriculum, the training curriculum for nutritionists, for nurses, for midwives, etc. But you know, as Dr. Appet was saying, nutrition resilience is something that we need to have a holistic approach. Yeah. You need to have a holistic approach, and so you can address the short-term and the long-term shocks, you know. And you need to also integrate and to work closely with education, agri, health system, and social intervention so that we can have a very good collaboration to build a nutrition resilience system, not only for the country, but also for all the planet. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very, very much. And there's unfortunately very little time, but I do see some commonalities coming out of both of your excellent responses. One is the importance of networking, the importance of aligning, the importance of multi-stakeholder, multi-sectoral approaches, the importance of community level networks and empowering communities. Two is the need to continue to invest in nutrition and the need for continued leadership as well. And then three, as you said, is the need for evidence and information systems, and particularly also local evidence. And then I think for you, Dr. Ella, we very much heard your call number one, which is to call for peace and an end of conflicts, which I'm sure we all support. And there were also some questions on that in the chat. hopefully we can elaborate on that, because I think it's, again, extremely impressive that in that context you will still be able to safeguard nutrition budgets, which means it is possible. So I would like to thank you very much for this moment. I would like to move now to our second panel, which is a panel of where we want to hear from experts from the civil society and experts from the academia, as well as experts in advocacy. So I'm very pleased to introduce to you our second panel. First is Nana Ayim Poakwa, who is the Executive Director of the Ghana Alliance Against Hunger and the Sun Civil Society Alliance Coordinator in Ghana. And our second panelist is Professor Nam Ngozi, who is the Professor of Community and Public Health Nutrition at the University of Nigeria and the President of the Federation of African Nutrition Societies, or FANUS, in Nigeria. And then our third panelist is Paul Newman, who is the Executive Director of the SDG2 Advocacy Hub, which he founded in 2015. So welcome, panelists. And I would like to ask my first question to Ms. Poakwa. How you're from a civil society representative, and how are civil society stakeholders supporting national actions and helping to safeguard nutrition in communities on the ground, and particularly, of course, to vulnerable communities affected by these shocks and prolonged food crises?
Saskia, thank you very much for this important question. And when I speak,
Can I briefly interrupt, Dr. Poakwa? Can you change your camera settings so that we can see your face? Yes, thank you. That's much better. We can see you now.
You can see me now, okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much for this important question.
Yes.
The background may be a bit noisy because it's raining severely here, but I'll manage as much as possible so that you can hear me loudly. When I speak, I know I speak on behalf of civil society organizations, and we have been working very hard over the years to improve nutrition outcomes at country level, particularly in communities affected by crisis and shocks, especially as a result of COVID-19, pandemic, conflict, and climate change issues. Saskia, you know, it is obvious that civil society organizations work closely in and with communities and have experience in implementing multi-sectoral programs and interventions that build and enhance nutrition resilience. And over the years, I think that is exactly what we have been doing. Some of our members, colleagues, civil society organizations made up of faith-based NGOs and other community-based organizations have over the years been involved in interventions that help improve food production practices, livelihood support, promotion of nutrient-rich foods, support to increase and diversify food production of the vulnerable households, climate change adaptation and mitigation, sustaining women capacity in agriculture, and improve access to water and better sanitation practices, including provision of nutrition-specific interventions. And this is all some of the things and some of the important interventions civil society organizations have been doing. But you and I know that the enormity of the crisis, particularly the effect of COVID-19 pandemic and the impact of climate change in various communities, have also ensured that civil society also respond adequately. And this has brought about new strategies in the form of formation of alliances, in the form of formation of coalitions to support national efforts in building nutrition resilience. Under Sun, civil society organizations have been well organized and well coordinated, all the way from global level to national level and community level. And I would like to specifically give one of the important interventions that civil society organizations have been doing, and those of us in Ghana that we have been involved in. We, since 2018 and then 2021, have been involved in a project that has been able to support districts mostly affected by COVID-19 and the impact of climate change, which I call them the high burden districts, to prioritize nutrition by mainstreaming nutrition in their medium-term plans. And that is very important when you look at the whole issue from planning and policy perspective. And what we have done is that we supported these districts to mainstream nutrition in their medium-term plans, and that has considerable impact on all what you have been doing in terms of changing the narratives by improving nutrition resilience. When the issues are raised and nutrition is mainstream in the plans of subnational authorities, in effect, district assemblies, then obviously we have a dedicated resources also available to improve nutrition outcomes. And that is what we've been doing since the outbreak of COVID-19 up to date. And it's important that we as civil society have made this community-based, multi-sectorial, and that has also triggered community impact. Through these initiatives, we are also raising nutrition champions at community level. And the reason is to sustain our advocacy efforts so that at the end of the day, we have community-based champions also enhancing the process at that level. We, as part of the project, have also established or supported the district assemblies to establish district nutrition committees. These committees were not in place, and the normal committees in terms of health, in terms of agriculture or sanitation were in place. But this is the first time in this district we have worked with these district assemblies to also establish district nutrition committees. And the committees are working to ensure that we integrate nutrition not only just in the plans, but also to follow up, to monitor the implementation of the plans. So this is a very important issue because at the end of the day, building nutrition resilience is to ensure that there's commitment. Resources should be made available, and the only way is to ensure that we prioritize nutrition through the district or communities' medium-term plans or planning processes. But there's also important thing that Ghana is doing, that civil society organizations we are also part of. And that is, as a result of the outbreak of COVID-19, Ghana has worked so hard to put in place the new food system strategies and investment plan. And this food system strategies and investment plan received enormous input and support from civil society organizations in Ghana. And that is also a very important step. At the end of the day, when the plan is fully implemented, then obviously it is going to ensure that the needed communities benefit fully from nutrition interventions, which will boost nutrition resilience from 2023 up to 2030. So this medium-term plan is what civil society we are also going to ensure is full implementation, and to ensure that it also benefits the needed communities. Out of the 223 district assemblies in Ghana, or a district in Ghana, we are working in 20 districts that are mostly affected by COVID-19, and that I call them the high burden district. But that is through policies, planning, and implementation processes. And we want to see a situation where civil society will continue to be supported and create the necessary civic space is created so that we can contribute our quota to ensure that at the end of the day, we improve nutrition resilience across board. And so that is what we have been doing at the moment. The most important thing is that as we are doing all this, then we are contributing to the national effort, aligning our front, building cooperation and collaboration, and the needed partnership that will enhance civil society's contribution in the process. So, Saskia, for now, this is what I have to tell you.
Well, thank you so much, Nana. That was very, very inspiring. And also, I think, for reminding us that it's important to build leadership also at community level and align that with efforts in the countries. And I would like to move to our next panelist because I would like to make sure that there is sufficient room at the end of the webinar to address some of the questions from the audience. But our next panelist is Dr. Naam Nkosi. And Naam, my question to you is, from an academic perspective, what are, in your view, the priorities for research agendas on nutrition resilience, and how can global partners support the needs and capacities of national and regional level researchers and institutions? Because we've heard about the importance of building this capacity at all different levels. Naam, over to you. Can you unmute yourself? And yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to be part of this presentation. As we've already heard, nutrition for resilience is the concept that good nutrition results in a more resilient person or household. And for us to get these resilient individuals, they must be in a state of good nutrition. They should be having adequate diet for them to have a healthier lifestyle and a healthy living, and be able to face a pandemic like we had during the COVID-19 pandemic, conflicts and emergencies. Some of the evidence-based nutrition strategies that can help drive policy agenda include use of social protection system. This use of social protection system covers aspects like safety nets. When we talk about safety nets, we are looking at food or cash and in-kind transfers, food vouchers, school feeding program, school garden, home garden, and transfer of livestock. How can these things help in improving nutrition agenda? One, something like the safety nets, like when people receive cash, they are more likely to buy more food that will help in diversifying their diet, help in fighting hunger in families, and the cash will help reduce poverty. So they can buy more food, they can diversify their diet, they can eat more nutritious food that can help build their resilience, increase their immunity to diseases and sicknesses, thereby living healthier lives. Then these things like cash transfer, when received by individuals, can help them increase their overall food consumption, which will improve resiliency. It can also, the cash transfer received by families and individuals can help them have more access to health services. They can have access to improved clean water, hygiene services that will help them live healthier lives. The cash transfer or food transfer or vouchers or home gardening, a school meal program, they can help individuals eat healthier foods, eat more nutritionally adequate food that will increase resilience, improve their quality of life, and make them have healthier life and healthier lifestyle. It will also help mothers have more money to take care of their children, provide care services, and thereby improve nutrition security and live healthier lives to have healthier individuals, developed nations, and developed regions. Another way in which nutrition can help, another aspect nutrition can help improve the resiliency agenda is providing nutrition support for adolescent girls, expecting and pregnant mothers, providing things like micronutrients, multiple micronutrient supplements, micronutrient powder, iron folic acid supplement, IFS. All these provisions help to build healthier individuals that will be more resilient to face shock and stress situation. Another way of helping using nutrition, another evidence-based approach for policy making include use of fortified foods, vitamin A supplementation, use of biofortified foods to increase intake of vitamins and minerals. And some of the biofortified foods that I use are orange flesh sweet potato, vitamin A enriched maize, iron enriched beans, and vitamin A enriched cassava. Consumption of these foods results to reduced incidence of malnutrition, increase the immunity and resistance to infection, and resilient individuals who can bring about development nationally and regionally. Then another approach is multi-sectoral approach to integrate nutrition indicators across relevant sectors like health. For example, if we include indicators of nutrition in health, it will help individuals to be aware of health services, those services that can help them improve their quality of life, to live a healthier life. Integrating nutrition indicators in agriculture will help individuals know how to produce more nutritious food that will help improve their nutritional status and their health status. Integrating nutrition indicators into education, through nutrition education, individuals, families will come to know how to consume food, what are the more nutritious foods to include in the family diet, and how do we combine these foods to improve quality of life and health status of individual. Systems like Women are Fair. Women are in charge of the family, running the home and providing diet. So integrating nutrition indicators to women through nutrition education will help them to produce healthier and more resilient individuals in their families. Introducing nutrition indicators to water resources system, people will have access to safe drinking water and safe water for food preparation. And introducing nutrition indicators to humanitarian affairs system to help individuals know about these safety nets, how to access it, and how to use it to improve their quality of life. Then another aspect is having providing data and communication services and good coordination among partners. These are some of the ways that can help to make individuals be in a state of be healthier. That is coordination, working in synergy. Then how can global partners support to help to build resilience among individuals? Global partners, we know that some of them are donor agencies, and some of them are working towards improving nutrition of children, mothers, particularly those of the childbearing age. So there is need for coordination and collaboration between these partners so that they will be working in synergy to articulate properly how to go about improving resilience. For example, they can sponsor researches by, we know the Sun network is very crucial, very central in improving resilience. There is the academic research network of the Sun movement. they can sponsor research for the research for these academic individuals in this academic research network to carry out research to produce nutrition, to produce nutrient-dense food and rich in micronutrients that could be packed in sachets. We know that children, when they leave the rehabilitation centers, they may not have access to RUTF, and there is need to give them, to provide for them rich, nutritious food that are rich in micronutrients to help build children immunity and to help them be more resilient to cope with situations when they go home. So they can provide a sponsor, they can provide money for research to produce this nutrient-dense food for children that are recouping from MAM, SAM, and for them to be used at home. They can also provide this safety net, like cash transfer, money transfer, food transfer, food voucher to individuals. And when I say that there is need for coordination and collaboration, partners should be working in synergy. For example, in Nigeria, we try to develop a policy that will guide all partners when they are providing these safety nets. Things like that will incentives that will help mothers visit the healthcare centers for them to have access to health facilities. We need to give them safety net like transport money from their base to go to those health centers. One thing providing those safety nets is another thing for mothers to assess them. So we try to harmonize how much cash transfer should be given for mothers to move from their base to the healthcare centers.
Yes.
So in fact, I've finished. I was just giving an example from Nigeria.
Yes, thank you very much.
That's
And
some of the points how partners can help.
Yes, thank you so much. And I'm really sorry to have interrupted you, but we still have only 20 minutes left, and we would like to hear from Paul Newman briefly, and then have some time for Q&As, as well as we want to give the final words to the youth, because I think it's important to look forward to give a youth representative the final words in this webinar. But before that, I would like to move to the third panelist, Paul Newman. And Paul, your organization, the SDG2 Hub, and your partners have just launched a new global campaign called The Elephant in the Room. And this addresses, in fact, the point that nutrition is often being neglected. So can you tell us a bit more about this campaign and why it's important?
Yeah, thank you, Saskia. And it's great to be here as part of this timely discussion on nutrition and resilience, especially between the African Food System Summit and the Africa Climate Summit last week and the UN General Assembly coming up this coming week. As we've heard from previous speakers, the world is facing an unprecedented global food crisis. It's a perfect storm. High food, fertilizer and fuel prices, an uneven recovery from COVID, a looming debt crisis, the impacts of climate change, the Ukraine invasion, all of this is coming, and it's been seen a devastating trend on rising hunger since 2014. In 2022, as many as 783 million people were chronically hungry, and nearly 250 million faced extreme hunger, which is the highest in recent decades. The rising food prices have catastrophic consequences for nutrition outcomes as well. I'm here in Kenya and been talking to people about the prices of core commodities just really rising very quickly, and thus people are not being able to keep up. And so this is really a big challenge. It's a big challenge. Why? Because this is actually going to change the future, the opportunity for many millions of people. And so this is one of the things that we really need to be thinking about, not only the emergency at the moment, but also the long-term impacts of us neglecting being able to provide the right kinds of nutrition and the right kinds of access to everyone around the world. So the numbers are quite staggering when you get into it, and particularly in key regions. I'm not going to, due to time, go into all of those numbers, but I also just want to say at the moment, we also have a lack of response. In the world's response to the 2008 food crisis was a massive coming together. At the moment, we only have, 25% funded. So it's much lower than the 2008 levels, but there's twice as many hungry people. And so we see this as a real elephant in the room. There's no global plan or political consensus around the comprehensive response to this crisis to look at all of the elements, including the nutrition and the long-term impacts of that malnutrition. So launched just a few weeks ago, the Hungry for Action campaign, the elephant in the room, aims to bring together powerful voices to acknowledge this obvious crisis that exists and the call on our leaders to act. So we've had over 30 activists, chefs, and civil society leaders signed an open letter calling for an emergency meeting of world leaders on the crisis. There's a number of signatories that have come together and really looking at how do we put this on the agenda. The narrative of nutrition resilience is a critical part of this discussion. We need to not only meet the immediate humanitarian needs, but break the cycle of crises and look at systems level change that builds resilience in our communities and our systems. And we need effective solutions that trigger meaningful structural reforms, as well as immediate relief that are critical to tackling the interconnected challenges of hunger, unhealthy diets, poor health and nutrition outcomes, poverty, inequality, climate change in the medium to long term. So we're doing a lot of mobilizing of diverse stakeholders on this important issue. We would love to bring new people to this and a narrative around that accessibility. We'd love to see the intergenerational cycles of malnutrition broken, and ensuring nutrition resilience means growth for people. The Elephant in the Room and campaign and the Hungry for Action will mobilize those key voices and moments to make sure this is a part of the agenda and continue to do that. And we see that going into hunger, it's very critical to raise this, but also the Micronutrient Forum 6th Global Conference in October is going to help us launch momentum around the road to resilience. It leads up to the World Bank and the IMF annual meetings, to COP28 and the Food Systems Day, and then into next year in the presidency of G7 and G20 by Italy and Brazil. So we also see the Scaling Up Nutrition Movement's global gathering, and France's hosting of Nutrition for Growth. There's so many opportunities, but we need to act. And we really need to see this action happen very quickly and in a coordinated way with leaders coming together. And so I think it's so critical that we're going to The Hague, that we're actually talking about this long-term damage that's being done through a lack of micronutrients, through a lack of that nutrition resilience that's being caused by so many things, but we're coming together with experts from around the world to really raise and say there are solutions, and that these solutions need investment, they need commitment to take it forward.
Thank you very much, Paul, and thank you very much for reminding us that we need to continue to team up together to really make sure that these nutrition budgets are not only safeguarded but increased, and we need to learn from each other, but also to come together across sectors, maybe step over our own shadows, and that the conference in The Hague is one of those opportunities. By the way, also for all of you who are dropping questions and comments and remarks in the chat, which we probably cannot all address, I would also like to remind you that you can still register for the conference and come to The Hague and then have these discussions there, or continue these discussions there. I would like now to move to the Q&A session, because there are a couple of very, very important and critical questions, and all speakers be prepared, because I may call upon you to address some of these questions. And there is a question, there are a number of questions actually by Visakha Tsile Kiratni, who have some questions on the importance of social safety nets and social protection programs. We've heard that from a number of speakers, that in particular social protection systems have been instrumental in safeguarding nutrition during times of crises. But I think one of the questions is that, can they really safeguard nutrition forever in a sustainable way? And I would like to address this question to Dr. Apit. To Dr. Apit, because I think you referred to that in the context of your when you described the situation in the Philippines, where you indicated that also there social protection systems have been instrumental. So what is your view on, you know, the more sustainable longer term role of these social protection systems, Dr. Abed? If you can unmute yourself and also put yourself on camera. Maybe if you have already left, then I would like to ask if Dr. Ella Compaore can address this question, please.
Thank you very much for the question. You are right. If you look at what we have proposed as actions to support the vulnerable groups, we have proposed to have cash transfer. We have also proposed to have food assistance. Food assistance is something we use only for the emergency. It's something we cannot continue in a sustainable way to support this kind, to support population by providing, by distributing food, by providing money. If you take the example of my country, we have developed a kind of organization where we provide to vulnerable people some money, but they should comply with what we want them to do. We can ask them to maybe to buy something, and after that to keep it, and later they can again go and they can sell it and have some resources for the family. They can try to have some medication with it. We have some a percentage with the money, with the resource we provide them, and they should comply with what we need them to do with the money. Otherwise, it's a wasting of the resource. If you look at the food we provide to them, sometimes we can find them and they go to the market and they sell all and they waste the resource, the food we provide them by giving it to other population and to take back some money, because it showed that the need for them at essence is not the food. Maybe they need, I don't know, money, maybe they need something else. But what we have, we provide what we have. If we have food, we provide food. If we can support with cash transfer, we provide a cash transfer. If you have, I don't know, other thing to provide that is recommended, we can provide it. But sometimes it's not what they need at the real time. So we need at the government level or with organization, non-governmental organization, to comply with the real need of this population. Otherwise, for a long term, it's not something that is really sustainable. We cannot continue for 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years to provide food assistance, to provide some money is sometimes difficult. You need someone to pay the bill. But at the end of story, who pays the bill? Who pays the bill? We provide money, we provide food. Sometimes it's really difficult. It's really expensive for us to support all this kind of thing.
Yes, well, thank you. There is one other question that I would like to raise, and that's a question actually to you, Paul, the last speaker, because you mentioned that it's important to bring new people into the room, and that's, you know, is fully agreed. But wouldn't it be also important to collaborate with educators, with teachers, with primary and secondary school teachers, to both improve nutrition immediately of children, but also to strengthen their capacity for later? Paul, can you briefly respond to that?
Yeah, thanks, Saskia. So yeah, it's a really good question. I'm a big believer on bringing everyone in, and I would say definitely working with educators is key. I think we need to think about also how people engage with food. And so often nutrition comes through food. And so we've done a lot of work with chefs in terms of, and chefs and cooks in making delicious recipes and trying to think differently and creatively. And this is from, you know, all different levels. From, it's not just about restaurants. This is also, I've just visited one of the big school meal facilities here that's working in the county or in the city of Nairobi. working on trying to make delicious meals. We've seen lots of examples of different products that are highly nutritious, fortified, being incorporated into recipes. And I think this is really critical. So for me, it's about making things delicious, making them accessible, making them convenient, but at the same time, educating people that the benefits of doing that, the benefits for the investment. And I think this is where you bring in all the actors around that conversation. So I'm a big believer in bringing different people to the table, but also looking at the behavior change side of things and looking at how people engage with food and make choices around that. And cost, convenience, and taste is very important.
Yes, thank you. And we all like that you bring these chefs to the nutrition events, Paul, because it is important to also celebrate food as well. One final question from the audience, and that's a question that's been raised by Kitema De Geva, and that's about, is there any lessons that we have learned about the prevention of nutritional deficiencies in pregnant women and lactating women? I would like to address this question to Dr. Naam Ngozi for a very brief response, please. Dr. Naam, can you unmute yourself and put yourself on camera? Thank you.
Again, Saskia, the question again.
So
can I get the question?
Yeah, the question was, you know, is there any intervention to prevent nutritional deficiencies among pregnant and lactating women? Or what are the lessons learned there?
Oh, wow. There are many interventions to improve nutrition of women childbearing age, like the multiple micronutrient MMS, then the micronutrient powder. These are some of the interventions that have really proven to be very efficient in improving the nutritional status of pregnant and lactating women, because that multiple micronutrient supplement contains a lot of micronutrients, and we know they work in synergy. There is interaction, nutrient-nutrient interaction. So when you take all these micronutrients at a time, they are working together to help improve the nutrition of the pregnant mothers. And there are a lot of evidence to show that it really works. In contradistinction to IFS, IFS is just iron and folic acid, and you don't have the full effect of micronutrient interaction. And mark you, the key to good health for pregnant mothers is adequate intake of micronutrients, minerals, and vitamins. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Naam. And with this, I would like to actually thank all the speakers of today's webinar for your contributions to the dialogue. And I would like to thank, of course, all the participants as well. And again, remind you that you're more than welcome to join us online or in person at the Nutrition for Resilience conference, which will take place from October 16th to 20th in The Hague and online. And a link will be provided in the chat. Now, I will not end this webinar. I will give that honor to Pierre Cook, who is a Sun Youth leader and a youth and human rights advocate from Barbados, because I do think that it's important for us to listen to the youth, particularly when we want to look forward, which is what we end this webinar with. So Pierre, the final words in this webinar are for you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Saskia. And thank you to the members for joining us today for this discussion. And there are just a few thoughts I want to share with you. And I want to start by saying that today I am before you not merely as a speaker, but as a voice echoing the concerns, dreams, and urgent calls of young people across the globe. And we convene here at the virtual Micronutrient Forum seminar addressing critical matters. But the true question for me is, why have we gathered and what is our role in shaping the course of events? Now, at the opening of this seminar, my esteemed colleague, Dr. Afshan Khan, powerfully articulated the necessity for dedicated financing and strategic action to advance the causes of nutrition and climate security. And I want to echo her sentiments wholeheartedly for these words resonate deeply with the heart of our mission. Now, the heart of my closing message today centers on the profound climate challenges that our generation confronts, both now and in the impending years. It is about recognizing the peril these challenges pose to nutrition, and it must serve as an impassioned rallying cry and a fervent plea for nations and stakeholders to unite and come together to share wisdom. And I think it's important that as we embark on a journey towards momentous milestones such as COP28, and significantly the upcoming Micronutrient Forum in The Hague, that remember this commitment to action. Now, I am here today as a representative of Barbados. I'm here as a representative of a person from a small island developing state. And even though we boast dynamic leadership by our very own Mia Mottley, our island has borne witness to the ferocity of climate change, and we have endured searing heat waves, apocalyptic storms, hurricanes, volcanic eruptions. The very earth seems to be crying out in distress. And as a young person from a small island, I bear witness to the fear that grips our hearts. Those before us have reveled in the earth's abundance, and we have left young persons to pull up the slack. And today we heard that conversation around the need for dedicated national support towards nutritional security. As young people, we are adamantly rejecting this legacy for future generations. We're saying that we must see and we deserve more. We are stepping forward because we must. Today, an alarming 2 out of every 3 children endure the torment of food poverty. 1 in 3 Caribbean children grapples with obesity and/or excessive weight. And shockingly, more than 1 in 5 children faces stunted growth. These are scary statistics, and we can no longer turn a blind eye to these stark realities. Today, within this seminar, we've engaged in vigorous discussions concerning food and nutrition security, and we've underscored the urgency of decisive action and the importance of national progress and the need for unwavering commitment. I am begging and I'm imploring each and every one of you to carry forth these messages that we heard today, the passion that we heard today, with unwavering commitment, and lead with decisive action, because there is an importance to national progress and there is an importance to ensuring we have a better future for young persons. I implore you again to carry forth this message and this fervor and passion to your internal operations. And even as we prepare to convene in October, both virtually and in person for the Micronutrient Forum in The Hague, I want us to ensure that the resonating energy of action continues to shape our actions. Now, bear in mind, dear colleagues, that there must be nothing for the youth without the youth. And if we're talking about nutrition, if we're talking about climate, we're talking about the future. And if we're talking about the future, we're talking about our young persons. So the decisions that you collectively make today, the decisions made at all the high-level meetings, the UN meetings, the COP28 at The Hague, they will impact our future. And so young persons need to be a part of the process, and we demand to be a part of that process. We demand for our presence to be felt and heard. So in conclusion, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you and also a heartfelt invitation to all of you to join us, whether in person or virtually, at the Micronutrient Forum in October in The Hague. I want us to be able to sit and unite as leaders, stakeholders, spanning generations, to forge a path towards a sustainable and nourishing future for all. The time for action is now, and we must strive forward together. Thank you very much for joining us, and I do look forward to seeing you later this year in The Hague.